The last 3 major updates to Minecraft have left many players feeling an odd sense of disappointment. This is something we hadn't seen too much with Minecraft updates prior to then, with new updates being extremely well received by the community, except for that small update in 2016 that changed some combat, and also the 1.19.1 update, which, Anyway, the start of this trend was clearly the Caves and Cliffs update, which had a huge delta between what was announced and what was delivered, and when that actually happened, and then this was something extended with the Wild update in Minecraft 1.19, but I think 1.20 has finally reversed the trend between the gap of expectations and reality in a largely positive way. What is it that the Tales and Trails update does that the so-called mild update does not? Let's explore precisely that in today's video, because I think there's 3 key categories, and the first one is going to require us to talk about this image with all of its information, but first I need to do the generic YouTuber subscribe pitch. Did you know you could subscribe to the channel and something good will happen? Or maybe there's some statistic that for some reason I think will lure you in. Wow, wouldn't that be great if you did? I'd appreciate it. But what I'd also appreciate is diving into this graphic, because Harrison, my editor, put this together, and it really helps to show the gap between 1.20 and 1.19. People call it the mild update because what was announced at Minecraft Live 9 full months before the update released was basically what you got in the finished update. In fact, there were quite a few features mentioned at Minecraft Live which didn't make it to the end because, I mean, if frogs ate fireflies, that would be poison. And also, we all know that birch forests don't really need an update, and so, as you can tell, 1.19 was an update that left many people feeling disappointed because it seemed like an update with a wild theme, and then after that initial announcement, absolutely nothing that was added could be considered wild. Whereas Minecraft 1.20, when they showed it at Minecraft Live, a few people were a little bit excited, but most people said, this is an update we have to wait and see about. What is going on with this, the customization themed update? And I do absolutely love the camels, the hanging signs. I really love these new bookshelves that are chiseled and can actually store books. I mean, before this update, what you had to do if you had a bunch of books is just store them in a chest somewhere, whereas after the update, now what you're going to be able to do is store them in a chest somewhere and believe that one day you'll actually organize it into a beautiful bookshelf. Isn't that nice? I think the answer is yes. So although the initial reveal of the update really was small, it was a very manageable batch of pretty decent all-round features. No one can argue that having bamboo wood in the game is a net negative, because all you have to do to avoid bamboo wood is never craft it yourself. No one could argue hanging signs are a bad thing, because all you have to do is not craft it. The edgiest and spiciest feature in this update is maybe the camel, and although some people will treasure him dearly like a child, the truth is you can do what Minecraft's been encouraging you to do for children that are useless for a while, and yeah, with that said, the point is looking at the list of features upon release, it is a much bigger list, right? In fact, it's not just double the amount of stuff, it's not just some extra features here or there, it's almost triple or quadruple the size of the update that we're getting when 1.20 releases in a few months than we actually saw at Minecraft Live. If you look at the wood types, we now have 2 types of wood, and it's not just 2 types of wood, it's 2 types of wood and a brand new tree for that second type of wood, rather than using existing shrubbery from the game. If we look at the, the addition of the armor trims, every single structure has a brand new reason to go and explore it. Even in existing world, there is a valid point to say, yeah, go on a big exploration, find your new biome, but also find every single structure again so you can customize your armor. That is big and exciting, and also the way you can make your own little pots, right? Using the different pottery shards you find around some of those very same structures. Wow, did they just make the desert well useful somehow? Yes, they really did. The desert temple also has these same pottery shards, as well as extra loot to be found there. There's a whole brand new mechanic in archaeology. It's incredible. And then we've got the sniffer, and he is, big and good. He's a dinosaur, and you get this orange flower from him. Whoa, look at that. You can get orange dye in a new way. Yeah, wow, this is amazing. And so, yeah, if you look at the list of features in this update upon release, it is so much bigger than when it is announced. And that is the first big thing they did right. Rather than over-promising and under-delivering, and arguably exactly promising the amount they delivered with 1.19, they've now gone for under-promising, over-delivering, which is exactly where you want to be when you want people to be excited about what you're doing. Show people enough stuff that they get the hook in there, and then reveal much later what else is going on. But there's something else they did much better than 1.19, and it's all in the name. The wild update wasn't very wild. In fact, there's one feature in the update which most people would consider to be very wild, and then there's a lot of stuff which is just broadly grouped together with a name that doesn't really fit any of it. I think this was a big mistake, and honestly, the community as a whole has reactions on this update that range from "it was pretty good" to "this was really disappointing, the most disappointing update in modern Minecraft." And so Mojang did something that is very hard for anyone to do, let alone a big company, and they brought this up directly in saying this:
I would actually love to take some time to talk about what we have learned from previous years, because we have announced some features that we didn't manage to deliver. And it's important that we learn from that and that we take action from that.
You can just tell by her voice she wasn't proud of what had happened in the last few updates. I mean, if you look at the 1.19 features versus release again, and we look at the Caves and Cliffs features versus release, and then you start to see that this is really a trend that they were getting on of announcing features they weren't able to deliver, and so they decided to take this feedback on board. Rather than announcing a bunch of features that people got excited for and then cancelling them, they took it on board perfectly and made 1.20 much better in terms of features, but also in terms of naming. I think something the Wild update made clear is that although Mojang has a lot of different priorities, let's be honest, there's hundreds of staff all working on different things. How can you get them coordinated to make a themed update? And what does a Minecraft update theme even mean anyway? That's a very hard thing to do. So they just admitted, when we're at the start of making 1.20, we'll only have a few features ready, and so we can't really group those together. They could have just said 1.20 is the update of customization or personalization, or, you know, they could have gone with lore and more. They really could have come up with an update name just based on what they'd done already and their vague ideas, but I think they did something much smarter, and that was to wait on announcing the name. This meant that although they probably had a planned name, they wouldn't be committed in stone to it, and so Minecraft could actually work on making new things as fun concepts. I'm sure the Cherry Grove biome was just made by someone having a lot of fun, and then they could add it into the update because it didn't have a theme yet. Whether the armor trims were planned or not is something we do not know as a community, but the idea of adding them and then slowly improving them based on the player feedback and not having to work out how they tie into lore and stories, you know, like I guess there's a story of how they got there, but rather than having to do these weird jumps and logic, they just developed some features they thought were fun around a vague theme which they were keeping kind of private. I mean, they did admit quite publicly that they wanted to add more features that felt like they should have been a part of Minecraft, and they did admit that they wanted to help players tell their stories, but they were keeping it officially under wraps, so they had flexibility to change it. This was a dangerous thing to watch as a Minecraft community because, you know, theoretically, if Mojang really were the lazy developers, they could have used this as an opportunity to do nothing for 4 months and just be like, we've technically made features, we haven't promised anything more. But what we saw instead, obviously, because people who work at Mojang love their jobs, presumably, or at the very least like doing what they do enough to do it every day, instead we started to see all sorts of weird features we hadn't even imagined as a community. Sure, the Cherry Forest was a very popular request, but on the other hand, what about the armor trimming system? What about adding uses to desert wells? I think people had forgotten about asking for... Yeah, I think most people forget desert wells exist as a whole, if I'm being honest. What about, you know, the bamboo second type of wood that you have, or just the bamboo blocks as a whole? They started to add all sorts of weird additional items and things that the community wouldn't necessarily ask for, which is very clever, which is the best use of this. And so the second thing that they absolutely got right here was announcing the title much, much later and allowing themselves space to have creative freedom. Ultimately, Minecraft is a game about creativity, and although I can't tell you the balance of coding and hard work versus creativity and ideas that the real updates have, there is definitely some amount of that second thing, and it looks like they did a great job with it. But the third thing they did a great job with, honestly, isn't to do with developing the game at all, but instead about how they communicate it. As the 20th major update to Minecraft since its release, Tales and Trails is doing something very different to previous updates that is seeing a lot of positive feedback from the community, and this is a new way for Mojang to announce features. So sure, Minecraft Live is a big event every single year, and they know this is probably their biggest announcement and their biggest opportunity to not only make announcements about the next Minecraft update, but then to use that very same announcement they're trying to make to lure people into a show where they're going to learn about other Minecraft projects products. Oh, are Minecraft making another game? Wow, they are. Are they doing some project where they're trying to sell you shoes? Yes, they are. Is there some brand new marketplace feature you need to know about? You're going to learn about it because you're excited about the update. So keeping that big announcement hypey is very important for Mojang, but something they've realized is that if they're doing a 1-year update cycle, and that's basically been the case since the update Aquatic, then they need to make sure that that year is not one announcement followed by months of development, followed by releasing, but instead that there are peaks and waves, and ideally there is a regular content announcement. As we've seen from the rise of games like Fortnite or Apex Legends, doing regular changes as well as bringing new content on a really regular basis is a great way to keep things hot. This is the whole point behind McDonald's doing brand new deals every day or bringing back a burger that's existed forever. It makes you go back into the store and buy whatever else you were going to do, and so when Minecraft adds a new feature, they get people excited, and some number of those excited people get back into the game, and this is the genius behind announcing things bit by bit. It might seem almost like drip feeding, content, and sometimes it can feel that way, but if Mojang genuinely just start making a big announcement of things they've worked on, followed by lots of smaller announcements, they can get a lot of excitement going. Sometimes they've gone too far the opposite direction on this. If every single week there is one brand new feature, people will get bored of that after a while, but this update has gone through several peaks, and if you're not familiar with that, allow me to go through them one by one. First things first, we've got Minecraft Live. Wow, people are excited. Then we've got the first snapshot of the update where a lot of those features are in there. Then we've got the first snapshot that introduces a lot of extra stuff. It really came in betas in some cases, but there was the remainder of it, which was exciting to see. Then we got the armor trimming update, and people said, whoa, I wasn't even expecting that. Then we heard archaeology was coming, and the sniffer was going to be a part of that, and that was all going to be a linked system. And then out of nowhere, literally the next day, they're like, oh, by the way, happy Valentine's Day, here's a new biome we're making, and you can play with it tomorrow. That is the way that you build hype today, as you'll see from all of the albums or games or any pieces of media doing precisely that, and it really is working quite successfully for Minecraft. And then they have the announcement of the name of the update, which honestly, just announcing the name of something shouldn't be exciting, but believe me, it genuinely was for the community. You can tell from the number of people who watched my video on that same topic that people were excited to learn what the theme of this update was and why, and then there will be another wave of excitement when they announce the last wave, the last little tiny features that are coming, and then there'll be another wave when they announce the release date. By knowing and acknowledging that human attention spans aren't infinite and that people won't just be willing to look at the same thing over and over again, Mojang is doing a masterclass in marketing this update, and that is something that is very important. Obviously, you might say, I think as an end consumer, this is something you might have some backlash towards, like, wait, you can't say marketing is a good thing, Toycat. That sounds a lot like you're saying the first thing is a good thing again. No, the way they announced this update was genius, and honestly, even though it seems as though marketing doesn't work on you, everyone believes marketing doesn't work on them, and yet it is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. I mean, like you might look at a Coke ad and say, yeah, that doesn't make me want to buy Coke anymore, but it might make you want to drink Coke more, and honestly, that's their goal at this point. Everyone who can drink Coke is doing it as some amount. They just need to get you to drink it more, and the same is true for so many other forms of marketing. If you don't think that it's working, that doesn't mean it doesn't, and the fact that Minecraft can have a similar content output in a year where they had a really disappointing update that led to basically an apology, and then release something of similar size but do it in a much better, more community-driven, and let's be honest, better marketed way, that is a good thing as a whole. It's actually the same thing with YouTube videos. How many videos do you watch where someone says, please subscribe because blah, 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 and you totally zone it out. It does nothing to your behavior, and then all of a sudden you see someone telling you about some weird statistic. Did you know 73% of people aren't subscribed? And that's a real shame. Wouldn't you like to change that? Like by doing something just the tiniest bit different, they raise some extra intrigue. And in the same way, did you know greater than 99% of house fires happen to people who aren't subscribed? And honestly, most people wouldn't subscribe after hearing that, but most people would be liable to house fires, I think you'll find. But no, more seriously, there is a really important thing in marketing this update, and I think this is important. Mojang, as a company, need to work out their communication strategy. They've done a much better job at attracting the casual audience to care about more Minecraft stuff, and that is an incredible one. However, they also need to make sure that people who are very dedicated and checking out every snapshot on beta are also just as interested and just as likely to pollinate good information, because ultimately, I think one of the big things that made 1.19 disappointing for many is when they'd see other people say, this is the mild update, and you think, maybe that person has a point. Even if only 25% of people agree with you, that's in the same way that hype spreads by people sharing positive news, Negative news can share very well as well, and I think trying to find the balance on that is very hard, but we'll have to see how Mojang does it. For now, I'm just going to do the generic YouTube outro that you're going to skip over because I'm just saying thank you for watching the video as if somehow me thanking you makes it all better, and if you're really going to see the thank you as sincere, even though it's going out to hundreds of people, something about subscribing or liking or even a Patreon to go absolutely crazy, and then also mentioning that if you want to see more videos, then you can do that because I'm going to assume that you didn't know you're on YouTube and that you're going to get more videos recommended or even auto-playing right after this one. But either way, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.